No?
We
Or
can.
just little nerves there, but, that's normal, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I always get nervous just before I hit the start recording or start streaming. Like I doing stuff pre-recorded. I get more nervous than speaking at a conference.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
Um.
I don't. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
No, just do it. Just do it, Sam. Let's see where we go.
Okay,
Okay.
we are now live. So thank you everyone who's joining today. I hope it's a lovely day where you are. Today I'm joined by Philip Wong. We're going to be doing some live pair testing. Phil, is that your preferred name, Phil?
Yeah, call me Phil. Yeah, that's fine.
Uh, is joining us from the land of the UK, land of tea and fish and chips and some other glorious delights. Would you mind telling us a bit about yourself, please, Phil?
So my name is Phil, as Sam's already said. I don't really have many. I don't eat fish and chips that much, to be honest with you. Try to stick healthy to healthy options, but so I've been a tester for about 3 years, mainly testing recruitment software. So what recruiters use, behind the scenes, uh, sourcing candidates and the process that they go through for that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, not sure what else
No, no, that's
to
fine.
kind of say
If
about that. Yeah.
what's been your most interesting bug you found from recruitment software?
Oh, trying to think. There's one thing. There's one where, oh, it's not really. I wouldn't say interesting. Maybe critical, but so that GDPR, right?
Mm.
Yeah, yeah,
For
you're familiar
anyone
with that,
who's
so.
not aware of GDPR, it's the general privacy laws that were implemented in Europe a few years ago.
hmm So there was we have some records for we store records for different people, they're job seekers, and we're supposed to delete them after a set amount of time. So there was one where our system is customizable, so you could do it, you could set it to 6 months or 12 months or whatever the company wants to use, because the product that we're building, it can be customized to the client's needs. And I was not, as a tester, I think there was some kind of, I think we have some kind of silos in our organization where, like, oh, testers, you're supposed to just test black box, don't look at the code. So I sneakily looked at, well, it's not sneakily, I don't like to use that word, but I was curious. I looked at the
Mm.
stored procedure for deleting uh, the candidate's records, and it was hard coded to be 6 months. So if that went live, that would have just deleted stuff, uh, regardless of what the client would have set it to. But I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't curious to look enough to look in there. Even though my SQL is quite basic, it was enough to I wanted to get an idea of how things worked. So that's one interesting bug I
Yeah.
found.
I think
Yeah.
that's yeah, it's a really interesting mindset. You don't need to be a developer to be able to read code. Almost anyone can learn a little thing, learn something from trying to understand code, and it should be easy enough to follow. And you don't need to be a MySQL genius to check out if a select statement or a delete statement is doing
hmm
what you think it should do.
hmm
So you also maintain your own blog as well. And there's a couple of blogs of recent bugs that you found.
hmm Yeah. Did you want me to talk through any of them or something?
I'm more just bringing it up as a what's with the washing machine? Did
Oh,
you
right.
try to restart it?
Yeah. So this is a funny one. It didn't work as I thought. I was trying to use the time delay function, before I set off. was going out, put the clothes in the washing machine, and I set the so just to summarize what this is, so normally when you use a calculator or something, you type something in, you do stuff with the calculator, you turn it off, turn it back on, you don't expect it to keep the state it was in before, do you, for a calculator? Because you've turned it off already.
Yep.
Same thing here. I thought it would apply to the washing machine I was using. Um, but when I turned it on, it actually still saved the 1 hour kind of thing. I was trying to clear it. Uh, it turned out I had to keep pressing the time delay button until it said off. So it goes in increments, like 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. I was like, what? What is this? It's just, but that's how it works. That's just inconsistent with other products that I use, I guess, if you want to
Yeah.
put it that way.
Yeah. So
That
you're using
heuristic.
a heuristic, and it didn't align with that heuristic. I guess it's set up to be set once, and it always comes back to that state. But if you want to customize it or change it differently, yeah, I don't know actually which one is more correct.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's more UAT. I think gather more customer feedback. That's kind of the conclusion I made in the
Yeah,
end. Yeah.
it actually might be interesting that that bug might actually be different under different countries. So localization, uh, that type of if this is a washing machine that's built in Asia, it might be standard practice. That might be the expected behavior. Whereas in the UK, you might have a different expectation.
Yeah, yeah, that's another one, isn't it? That's another like user desires kind of thing, but different audience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was reading a Twitter thread the other day about really annoying washing machines. So, a washing machine in Asia, once it's finished, it'll play a little tune. But it's like every appliance makes noise or plays tunes. And this happens when your fridge is open for too long or a whole bunch of things. And so this thread was like people complaining about how do I switch this off? And it never occurred to the team who were building that product that there would be people who wouldn't want their fridge to chime every time it was opened.
Yeah, that's interesting because you don't think about the other products that you use affecting your own. And I think that's what you're saying. You're saying that it's the environment that the product's in as well, and they didn't put that into consideration. But yeah, all the rice cookers and tunes are coming to my head now. Um, that's a quite funny one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like culturally, in more Asian households, it's kind of expected that every appliance makes a noise when it does something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can't
Uh,
turn it off. How'd you do that? Is there a workaround? I don't know. Put a towel over it or something. You can't do it on the fridge, I
I
guess.
think
But yeah.
if you're fine undoing the electronics and finding where the speaker is, cutting the cable from the microcontroller to the speaker would be one way of switching it off.
Oh, yeah. That's a bit of a long way, isn't it? Okay.
It'll probably void your
That's
warranty too.
interesting.
Mm.
Mm.
Anyway, so today I'm hoping we can have a walk through GitHub, checking out some code, making some changes, and we might talk about continuous integration and testing, just really from a high level and how we might get started with some of those things. So you've spotted a bug in one of my repositories. I'm building a sample app called Buggy Bank, and I'm hoping to use it for other learning purposes. Um, I have an API that's deployed. It's a serverless cloud function, but there's a bug in it. When I hit this API, I get a minimum mobile supported version, but in the bug there was a spelling mistake.
Hmm.
Is that the spelling mistake? No, where's the spelling mistake?
Oh wait, not sure if it's further. Is it further down? Maybe.
Oh, the
Um.
minimum, yeah, minimum Android,
Hmm. Oh, there
minimum
it
and
is. Yeah.
yeah. So that variable, it took me a while to spot it. It's like, oh, it's not that one's not the spelling mistake. Okay, so I got a spelling mistake in my variable. I haven't checked out this
So
code.
how would we have prevented that in the first place? Is there like a spell checker on in the browser? Do you normally use that, or is that
The thing
maybe
is,
why?
like, when you're using something like Camel Case, you don't tend to have as much spell checking.
Oh, that's true. That's true. It's camel case, isn't it? Yeah, and it's not picking it up because of that. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a common thing that happens when you are creating variables. That if as long as you're consistent with yourself, you never notice this. And
Mhm.
if you're using autofill functions in your code or whatnot, then you also might just completely miss it.
Mhm.
Because it functions as expected and returns Android here when I call the API,
Mhm.
it's not necessarily a bug a customer will see, but if I came to maintain this, or if it was a public API or some other version, if I was sharing this API with another team, they're like, it's not working as expected because we can't get the Android version.
Mhm. Yeah, it's relatively. Is it low risk because of the spelling? But depends how. If yeah, like you said, if it's an external customer using the API, might confuse them a bit because INEO, or maybe they're yeah. I'm trying to think. If their first language isn't English or something, but it's still kind of they can still kind of work it out. INEO is not that big of a difference to Android.
Yeah.
Um,
But the mobile client won't see an issue because this is returned to the mobile app. But
mm,
it's just, or if I was building a test harness around this and I was trying to set minimum Android version to 1.2, say if I wanted to test that my Android version has been updated to, well, in this situation, where iOS is ahead of Android, and I changed the version to 1.5. And I
mhm,
want to test that Android is rejected, but iOS still works. And if I was trying to set minimum Android version with the correct spelling with some sort of mocking framework, and then trying to test this test would still pass. It
mhm,
wouldn't fail in the way that, or it wouldn't pass in the way it would be expected. It would pass it wouldn't block the minimum Android version correctly.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
And so it might be a bit frustrating trying to debug that situation when you've got a failing test because it's like, oh, it should reject it, and it's
Mhm.
not. I've got no idea what's happening, and then it's like, oh poo, I just misspelled things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if
So
I
sorry, can I
yeah
just
yeah you
stop you
yeah
there? Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah. You mentioned the word test harness. Is there a specific like what do you mean by that? Is it like something to do with test data? I'm kind of familiar with the term, but not at the same time. So it'd be good if you could yeah, define test harness for me.
So if we're writing this in if this is written in JavaScript, you might want to use a test framework or a test harness to potentially test this. And it really depends on what level you want to test this. If we're talking about testing a small function, we might write a unit test. I think I've got a diagram that might help me explain some of this. Um,
Oh, okay, that's nice.
So this is my buggy bank architecture that I'd like to build one day. Your mobile app talks to a mobile banking gateway, and then that talks to microservices further down the dependency. So maybe transactions, authentication, and customer details. So at the moment, the minimum supported app version just exists in the mobile banking gateway. But if we wanted to but maybe get like transaction details to present back to the mobile app. We'll do a request to here, and then that will go to transactions, and then pass it back. So testing that path is more of a integrated test because you need to have this service up and this service up to be able to test that downstream dependency.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
if you just wanted to be able to test that the gateway just returns transaction responses without having a whole test environment set up, you might build a test harness and build in a mocking framework inside of your service so that instead of hitting something that has a database and event system and having all of this set up, it just returns a canned response just to
Hmm.
check that it can return that type of data. So it really
Okay.
depends
Yeah.
on what languages these are written in. If this is Node or TypeScript, you can use frameworks like Let's Test and what have I got? Super Test is a testing framework you can incorporate into a JavaScript project to test APIs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it makes more sense now. So it's like you said, like mocking uh, the infrastructure that's not there yet, is not built there yet.
Mm.
Uh, yeah.
So that you
Okay.
can continue to build and test and whatnot. So it might make sense that you might have a integrated test environment and you actually test all of these responses, or you might have contract testing in place, which might decouple the that type of integration testing. I won't necessarily go into detail about that just yet, but just might mention it's a way to decouple services so that you don't have to have service A and B in the same test environment to be able to test that they can still talk to each other.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and maybe transactions has got a queue of transactions that come through for a whole bunch of different accounts. And so when you're testing transactions as a standalone service, you don't necessarily want to be able to set up a you don't necessarily want to set up a database just to be able to test that maybe your account balance is transaction 1 plus transaction 2 minus transaction 3.
Mm. That's interesting. Yeah, that's outside of my knowledge. So yeah, it'd be good to dig into or have a taste of what that's like. Um, I
I'll just put this up
notice you
as
use.
I'll just put this up as
Okay.
a reference. But yeah, please continue.
No, I was just saying. As you were explaining the diagram, I noticed you said you request it from the app, and then if you go back to the diagram, maybe just for a second, it goes to the transactions and then pushes it back. Is so I imagined it's more of a double arrow kind of thing rather than single. Is that, or is this more like a request diagram? I guess
Yeah,
that's
this is
the.
a request diagram of where the if you were to do a get request, technically it would be a double arrow that comes all the way back up. Uh,
Mm,
but for simplification,
mhm,
or to keep the
mhm,
diagram simple, it's just where the get request would go to.
mhm, mhm. Okay,
So yeah, the reason
cool.
why I've got this arrow to authentication. So maybe the first time you're using this app, you actually have to register your device. So you've got maybe your user profile and your account details or something. So you got a user profile, or you're
Mm,
onboarded as a customer. So you exist in customer details, but you don't exist in authentication.
mm,
So the first time you register, your password is logged against authentication. And then if you need to do something like update your customer details inside of the app, you do this request to customer details. You pass in an authentication token, and then customer details rechecks that authentication token to check that you're not a fake user
mhm.
trying to take advantage of the system.
Okay. Mhm,
But if you never have to update your transactions from the app, if they just come through other feeds, transactions doesn't necessarily have to check if you're an authenticated user or not.
mm, mm. Um, Say that again. Transactions you don't need to check if you're authenticated or not.
If you are only checking authentication on a write or an update, say if I wanted to update my customer details,
Hmm.
I might check that token with authentication. But maybe the transactions to return the transaction load doesn't necessarily need to check you're authenticated if it's using a 5 minute session or something.
Oh, right. Okay, I see where you're coming from now. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually,
that makes more sense.
there might need to be an arrow there if authentication also manages expired tokens or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, to give them a new one or something. Yeah.
Or maybe the mobile banking gateway. No, I don't think the mobile banking gateway should manage. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I was just trying to flesh this out to make it easier to talk about where you might build testing at different layers.
Okay. Yeah.
But we can make these changes in this UI at the moment because this is the Google Cloud function. So if I don't think there's a find and replace, and I don't have this integrated in an IDE just yet. But I think can I edit that? Eh, 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 eh.
Copy paste or use Notepad is what I normally do. Um,
Yeah, but I'm just trying to. It's not it's because I need to press the edit button up the top.
oh, there. Yeah, I've done that with some other programs as well. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now we're in edit.
Mm.
Where were we? So we're updating this one.
Android version. Yeah.
Okay. And see, now it looks like
So
it's not being used correctly.
yeah, because I think you have to replace all of them, don't you, for
Yes.
it to go back to black. So this is Google Cloud Platform, which I haven't seen before. Um, and it's got its own editor within it, I
Yes.
guess. Yeah.
Yes. It is just because this is Google Cloud Functions. Uh, the idea behind Cloud Functions is they're small serverless bits of code. So I'm not creating a server when I deploy this code. The server is created whenever a request comes in, and then it's usually teared down fairly quickly. So I'm not managing any infrastructure behind this request.
Okay. Yeah.
At the
Not
moment,
familiar with.
this is mostly
Sorry.
just hard coded. So it's a hard coded minimum version, and I basically change the entry point to go whatever mode I'm in. If I just wanted to use the just get minimum version without any type of message, I can change this one to, so because this is an export, we can just replace that one so that when I do hit this API, it'll come into the get minimum version function rather than the other functions.
Oh, I see. You were using the second one
Yes.
before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I redeploy this, I expect to not see this anymore, but I will see this and this
Mm,
because I'm now using this here as my entry point.
mhm, mhm. Okay. Okay. This is it's kind of like the oh, what do you call it? I can't remember the key word now, but there's a key word, when you're programming, like you said, the entry point
Mm.
begins with I, um, that it, defaults to. So it just reminded me of that. Um,
The iterator.
no, I'm just thinking of Python when you want the program to start
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah. Like the main function
there.
in Java.
Oh, the main. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking the main. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
This does take a little while to deploy.
Mm.
But once that gives me a green tick, because if I try to refresh this, we'll get a timeout. Oh, or it's still up on the old infrastructure. It still has the old code deployed.
Hmm. So you just refresh to check that it's no longer
Yes,
returning that message.
yes, because when you refresh, you do another GET request to the API.
Hmm.
But can take a few minutes to watch something be deployed.
Mm.
But it is generally a little quicker than setting up your own servers. I hope. Come on.
So Buggy Bank is, just to help manage your own kind of transactional data with your bank,
Yeah,
I assume.
it's a sample project that I'm working on because I'd like to use it to teach people about observability and testing based on a microservice architecture.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So eventually, I hope to build a very simple Android and iOS app and actually have intentional bugs with them. So maybe if the iOS app has got 3 buttons down the bottom, maybe they're in different order compared to when they are on Android. And maybe one of these services, I put in some random variants just to make it randomly fail. It's like maybe every random 12 times we fail the request to customer details. And
That
so,
sounds
like,
exciting.
yeah,
Yeah.
like how would you debug these types of situations? There we go. It looks like it's deployed. Now, if we refresh this one, there we go. There we go.
Yeah. Success.
Yep.
Um, so what was the previous variable called? Just scheduled message. Is that what it was called?
Yep. So there's 3 states with this API. If I have a look at the source, there's the just return the minimum supported app version. The idea being that if you're on an old version of the app and you don't have automatic updates enabled, but we've updated our APIs, we can tell you you can't use this app right now. You need to go to the Play Store and update your app. We've got that with a scheduled outage message. It's like, hey, so you can pop a notification in the app and go, we're going to be out of action on Friday between 8 p.m. and 12 p.m. Because we're deploying backend changes. And this is pretty common in finance companies where they have really big, almost mainframe based systems. A previous team of mine, we still had a mainframe in the back end. We were building a microservice and a mobile app on top of mainframe architecture.
Mm.
So really old school. This mainframe was built before the internet existed. Well, was widely available. So getting network responses from it is a bit of a hodgepodge.
Mm.
But we'd have to bring down our backend service for a few hours to do releases once a month on Fridays. And so that's when you might pop in an in-app notification going, hey, we're going to be out of action on Friday. Please try not to use the app then. And then if someone just so happens to log into the app on that Friday when your server is down, you might be like, you know what, we're out of action until 10 p.m. Please try again later. Like you just can't
Mm.
do anything in the app if there's an active outage.
Mm. Okay. Interesting.
Do you have any thoughts in how you might test an API like this?
I'm just thinking. I would draw out. Oh well, you basically got a diagram uh, that you showed just now before. Um, yeah, I would just try and think of. I think you've covered the scenarios for maintenance. Just trying to think if there's other scenarios. That's where I would start. That the API would have to return. I'm not sure what other events would have to happen for the user. Um, I don't So there's maintenance and I'm not sure. Is there like a way to this probably getting into more enhancements, the world of enhancements, but customizing the messages, things
Mm.
like that. But that's another thing. That's not testing the API as it stands. Um,
Yeah, because at the moment it's hard coded. But if
yeah.
I was working in a big team, there might be someone from the business side, someone from the support team, who would want to update this with whatever message. So it might involve building a web portal or a spreadsheet that when it's updated, it updates the message to be displayed.
Mm. Yeah. So it will take it from the spreadsheet kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which
Um,
isn't
s-
with the whole Google Cloud platform. You can actually integrate a Google spreadsheet into Google Cloud Functions. It's actually pretty cool.
yeah, it makes it easier than upload things and then trying to do it that way. Yeah. Um, so the minimum version, the first function that I see here, it shows no message. So can you clarify what's that? It's just telling you what you need.
Mm.
If you don't have like to point you back to the Play Store or whatnot.
Yep. So the mobile app,
Mm.
if the minimum supported version is less, or if the current app version is less than the minimum supported version, there'll be a message that pops up and go, "Hey, you're out of date. You can't use this app until you update."
Yeah, so that's like a little boundary thing you can try there. Um, is it less or is it is it the exact version? That's another thing I'd try
Mm.
to test with it. Yes. Yeah.
There's also major and minor versions here. Is so you might test if the minimum supported version is 1.1. So you might test with 1.2, 1.01, and 0.9 just to make sure that it's doing the correct comparison on
Yeah.
the front end.
Mhm.
And with this
Mm.
example, I've actually picked different versions for Android and iOS so that you could test like maybe in between. So if you set the minimum version to 1.5, Android will fail until you go to Play Store, but iOS would be fine.
Yeah. And they're both encapsulated in the first function then. Yeah.
They both get returned. So the Android version should only see this one or should only care about this one, whereas iOS should pull out the data here.
Okay. Yeah.
And so if these are different, you might want to check that the mobile versions are actually pulling out the correct minimum supported version.
Mm. Yeah, I'm trying to think of other ways to test it, but right now the only thing that comes to mind is the obvious. What version do you have?
Mm.
Um,
One of the issues we had when we first built this API was that it was built behind a HTTPS request. Do you know much about SSL certificates?
other than being more secure, no, not the deep, um, you know, inner workings of it.
Okay. So this API actually supports non-HTTP requests. So if I remove the S from the URL, I'm now using an unsecure request. I hit that and I still get a response. But now the browser's updated to be not secure.
Mhm.
When you build a mobile app, you have to include an SSL certificate so you can do secure encryption across APIs. It's generally good practice. If I go to, so for example, my website, I've got an SSL certificate in place. and you can check out the certificate details. Um, I have this certificate automatically rolled and updated, I think once every 90 days. So I never have to update my own SSL certificates to keep my website up to date or like secure.
So if it didn't have it, would it block your request? If you were trying to do a GET request to
Well, let's try that.
HTTP.
So I'm changing HTTP to my own blog. Oh, and it does a redirect. Does a
Oh,
redirect
okay.
to
That's
HTTPS.
yeah, that's quite common, isn't it? I think.
Mm.
Um, but for the API, I'm just wondering.
See, this one didn't do a redirect, but I've built this on purpose. So when I've deployed this function, I can set the instances source. If I go to edit, this is the configuration and the runtime build settings. I don't think it's quite here. Security. No,
HTTP connection. Is it connections? Maybe. I don't know.
allow all traffic. Maybe.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um. Oh,
I'm
I've
trying to. Sorry.
no. You go.
I was just going to say I'm not sure what the expected result should be if it's requesting through HTTP. Is it supposed to say like, oh, please send it again through the secure layer or something like that?
I think
Um,
just a redirect to using HTTPS is fine. But I've set this up to accept HTTP requests because we had a bug in a previous mobile team where we would. This was before we had rolling SSL certificates built into the mobile app. So when you release we released app version 1.0 to the App Store in 2 years ago.
mhm.
But we uh, rolled it out with a SSL certificate. That SSL certificate expired in September. And so if people were still on version 1.0.0, they would never hit this API after the SSL certificate was expired because they couldn't hit it because it was behind HTTPS.
So what happened when they tried to do it?
Basically the app stopped working because they couldn't hit this request. They couldn't be told to force update. They basically couldn't do anything in the app. It just would display something went wrong. So you'd have a generic error message display.
Okay, okay.
Since we released that, eventually we fixed it so that we implemented a rolling SSL certificate, such that instead of hard coding the SSL certificate on the mobile device and then releasing the app with a particular version, the first time the app is launched, it talks to our server, checks its current certificate, and if it's expired, it gets a new certificate from the server and stores that in its local keychain.
Okay, so it's similar to how tokens work, I guess. If it's kind of outdated, it would retrieve a new one.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
But yeah,
So
and we built in some monitoring to check if someone was on an old app version, and if they saw something went wrong, it was probably because of this SSL certificate issue.
hmm, okay, so in this case, we try to reroute them to secure. Um, is there an instance where that wouldn't work? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Not
Let's
sure.
try. Let's check what happens with LinkedIn if we remove the S from the URL and press enter. No, it doesn't
I
redirect.
think I think it's also depends on the browser that you're using, how it deals with those. Uh, yeah, whether it's secure or not.
Mm.
I think when
By
on Firefox,
sorry, you go.
are you using Chrome at the moment?
Yeah, I am using Chrome.
Yeah, yeah. I think on Firefox it gives like for me it gives me a warning to say, this is not secure. Do you want to carry on? Uh,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
my UAT test environment that I'm using at work. Often test environments will have a self-signed certificate. This one won't work. Oh, it will work? Okay. Um, but this one might not have. It does redirect. Okay, don't mind me.
Okay. Yeah. So that's another case that you'd do, I guess.
Mm. So yeah, there's even just talking about a very simple API. Um, there are things that there are considerations. I've switched off HTTPS for this instance because the mobile app should always be able to hit this to be able to get a response. It's also not sensitive information. If the minimum app version is 1.2 on Android and 1.3 on iOS, like no one can really take advantage of that information, right?
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
But we updated our code, and I should probably update my repository to be able to reflect those changes because I've just hard coded the changes in the console. So it was what was the oh, it was this repository, Buggy Bank. So if I want to do a git clone, actually, um, this is GitHub, git bash, git bash.
Yeah. Yeah. Git bash
Yep,
on Windows.
yes.
Mhm.
I've just had to rebuild my Windows machine, so I've had to set everything up from scratch. Um,
Mhm.
ls gives me an indication of where I am. I think I'll make a directory because this is a fresh install. Make directory code. And now if I ls, I should now have a repository called code. There we go.
I think
And
is
sorry,
MD the short version of it? I'm not. I can't remember, but maybe you could try MD to see if it works. Does the same thing as make directory. Let's see if I'm right or not.
no.
No, I'm not right. Being too clever. Okay. That's,
It might be a shortcut in Linux, but the GUI here for Git Bash on Windows doesn't have all of those.
mhm.
I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
but so
So
this should be an empty repository. PWD is also where am I? I'm like I am in code. Okay, cool.
which stands for present working directory, I think.
There you go. You know more than me. I'd forgotten what it
Um,
meant.
I think, yeah, but not 100%. But yeah.
Yeah, I just
So
think of it as like where am I? P
yeah.
WD stand for print work
Print.
directory.
So I was, yeah. I'm glad I said it might be because it's I got it wrong. Okay, I was close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Print work directory.
Okay. So if I wanted to, I
There were.
think a git clone will work here. So if I get clone, um, ah, copy paste doesn't work the same.
I think it might be try Shift
Shh.
Control V. Shift
That's
Control
what I
V. I
thought it
don't know.
was. Shift Control
All
V
right.
or
Did that not work?
right click insert.
Shift it. Oh,
Oh,
there it is. Okay.
anyway,
It's there you
where
go.
is my insert? Oh, there's my insert. So, shift insert. So the
Yeah.
authentication, yes, because this is the first setup.
Yeah. It's doing all the authentication stuff now,
Yeah,
isn't it?
I thought I set up my GitHub. So using Git GUI, you can show SSH keys, and generate them, but it didn't work.
I
At
haven't
least it did.
used Git GUI before myself. Yeah, see how it works. Let's have a look.
So source location, and we'll set up. Uh, there we
So
go.
trying to pull down the project right now to work on it locally, aren't you? So
Yeah, I know it
already
already
exists.
exists. Do I
So
do I
it
need to
doesn't.
put? Oh,
Oh, there it's doing something now. Okay,
sweet.
that's fun.
Okay, and that gives me a view of unstaged changes and whatnot. Okay, cool. So if I now open up that repository, there we go, code.
Lucky Bank.
There's not that much in the README, but where did I? Oh, and I have some API tests as well. So this will check that we get a 200 response. So and I can just run that test. I don't have my node set up. Oh, this is such a fresh machine. Oh,
Yeah, there's so much you got to do for
oh
the
no.
IDE itself as well.
Yeah, I have to download Node. Oh, and
Oh
download half the
no.
internet. Anyway,
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
I might just update my changes and then push them, but I can always do that a little later as well.
So 200 is like the OK, if I remember correctly. Is that
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, that's the if I'm hitting it in the browser, this here is you can take. I guess if you view page source. Nope. We might just inspect
Uh,
that and go
yeah,
to
DevTools
network, XHAR, and if we refresh that one,
should be a. If you fetch all, is it? Not sure if it
oh,
is an XHR.
oh, okay, no, it's just
Uh,
it's a DOM, minimum app version,
response?
header, oh yeah,
No?
and so we get a status code 200.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can replay stuff in the browser as well, can't you? If I remember correctly. I'm not quite sure how. I think you right click on it and then on Firefox at least, I think you right click on the request itself and then it allows you to but it doesn't see I don't see the option on Chrome.
Yeah,
Okay, interesting. Yeah.
it gives you the option of copy as curl, copy as node fetch. Okay, actually
Do you
pretty cool.
normally use any specific tools like Postman to test APIs, or is there something on Google Cloud that allows you to do that?
Well, technically, Postman is owned by Google, I think.
Oh, really?
I
Okay.
think so.
Did not know that.
Brought over, Postman bought by Google. Again, I do use Postman generally. Yeah, Postman was built by Apigee, and Apigee was acquired by Google.
Okay. New fact.
So, yeah. Uh, I might be slightly. Um, no, Apigee was bought by Google. I guess Postman is still standalone. Don't mind me. Yeah, this is
Okay.
just they've just gone through some funding. Yeah. Okay. I'm incorrect. I was wrong.
Well, I think we both learned that it's good to be open to, you know, that's the tester's mindset. Stay open and don't think that you're tied to a specific result that you think is correct. So
Mm.
that's one thing I've learned anyway. But but it's sometimes hard to spot. You always hope that you made the right observation, but yeah.
Let's see if I can quickly install Node and download half the internet. Yeah, yeah, install. There we go. And okay, before we get distracted, yeah, I do often use Postman, though I think nothing beats, well, if you can test, also understanding how APIs work, you can use any tool. So when we were inspecting, we can copy and paste, copy as curl command. And then if we went to our terminal over here and, oops,
Oh yeah, I've had that happen to me before too. It's the way, the separators. I think it's
okay,
messing it up.
I might
Um,
have to open up my notepad and, oh, okay, Node has finished installing. Oops, it dragged the wrong thing. So notepad, come on.
is that all it's copied? What's happened? That's strange.
That is really strange. I don't know. Um, but yeah, if you can understand how curl commands work, then you can write a little Python script or a bash script to test any APIs or build your own performance testing tools or do anything. There we go. Curl. Okay, it is those, let's get rid of those
You're
ones.
breaking up on me a little bit, Sam. Not sure if it's just my side or what's going on.
Am I still there?
Uh, okay, you're back now. It froze for a little bit there. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to change. I think it just used the wrong character at the end of the string. So I'm
Yeah,
going to try the backslash, I think.
I think
Uh,
so. Do you need
Either
anything?
that or I just do the first request.
Yeah, you don't need everything there,
Yeah, I
I
don't need
don't
all the
think.
headers and stuff like that. Nah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's copy that one and eh,
Strange. Shift insert, wasn't it? I think.
yeah, shift insert. Eh,
Command not found. It's not copying. Still not copying it as we expect. That's strange.
oops,
I,
that was
f-
a
I
cut.
find that I find that I sometimes have to copy the same thing 10 times and then paste it just to make sure I've copied it.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty common.
There we go. Okay, it's doing something there now.
Yeah, and we got a response from the API. It's a bit
Yeah,
hard to tell.
but it's not really telling you the response code there, and I don't see it anywhere. So it's just,
No,
um,
doesn't give you a 200.
is that what curl does? Maybe I don't know if there's another command that actually tells you what the response code is, but it would be useful in scripting if you knew the relevant command, wouldn't it?
Yeah, getting a little sidetracked.
Yeah, a little bit.
Uh,
But I get your original point, which is to not be tied to Postman and be useful to learn how it works
yeah,
with any tool, tool agnostic, kind of thing.
mm, yeah. Because at the end of the day, Postman is just a wrapper around curl commands. It's a GUI that helps you talk to APIs, but there is a lot of flexibility with understanding how an API works and then being able to use whatever tool you want to be able to test them.
Mhm. One useful uh, thing about Postman, and I think one of the main reasons why I use it, is the dynamic variables feature. Not sure. Yeah, you're familiar with that. Yeah, so you
Mm,
can generate random test data on the fly um, to see, yeah, to test it
yeah,
whether
I
your API call is doing something
Yeah, for example,
correctly.
yeah, I could also do stuff like pass in variables like app version here. And then if I wanted to introduce variations, I could do that. Or if it's like take maybe if I had different test environments, like you have dev, production, or staging or
Y-
something like that,
Yeah,
you, you might
yeah, you,
introduce.
yeah, yeah. You don't have to. Yeah, I guess you don't have to do it in Postman. You could write it yourself. I think there are different libraries out there, like I think Faker, something called Faker, is a popular library which is available on different programming languages. It allows you to essentially generate any kind of dummy data, whether it's postcode or email or things like that. So yeah, test API.
Yeah. Do I have to relaunch? Yeah, I think I have to relaunch. Anyway, I have to get npm and node working. That's
That's
something I need
fine.
to do. But I think we are pretty close to time. Um, so I guess to summarize today, we've gone over a basic API that's deployed into Google Cloud Functions. We've updated it, we've fixed a bug, seen it deployed, talked about how we might test that API further, and how it might feed into a microservice architecture for a mobile bank. Are there any
Yeah, and
other key takeaways you'd like to add?
yeah, I mean, if we talked a little bit about the HTTP versus HTTPS as well, and no, I'm excited about this project that you're building because it will be so helpful for any new testers or even any other testers that are want to improve their skills because it's we need more of those testing challenges out there. I think there are a few. One from someone called the Evil Tester, I believe.
Mm.
I can't remember if there's any other ones out there, but yeah, no, I think you've covered what we've gone through today. Uh, so yeah, yeah,
Also, being able to inspect the network traffic, pull out the curl command. You can either import curl command straight into Postman as well, and then do all your variables around it that way. Um, Also, like a brief introduction to GitHub, how to do a Git clone and pull down a repository. Though we didn't really actually explore that much of Git. Yeah.
yeah.
So, in terms of looking forward to your career, Phil, what are you hoping to grow and learn over the next year or two?
I think I'd continue to explore the idea of heuristics because sometimes these unconscious biases, you know, you're not aware of them. So that's one thing I want to work on, and just becoming more of a technical tester because right now it's more exploratory skills, and if I can understand more of the what happens underneath the hood, now obviously that will help me obviously do more white box testing. I'll be more flexible. I can. Well, some people say it works against them because uh, yeah, if you learn coding, you might get into the mind of a developer. But I don't think there's any harm in learning more skills. So that's kind of the direction I want to go in.
Yeah, I think the only risk with learning one tool set for automation is that you tend to see it like a hammer, and then you see every problem like a nail, where that is the perfect solution to try to fix everything.
If you choose to take that mindset, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's easier to build that mindset when you learn like one tool or one coding practice, is then to try and use that for every problem you face, even though it might not be the best solution.
And to connect with that's where you connect with other testers, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that. That's why these sessions come in handy. And I'm glad I joined you today to do this kind of session because I think more testers need to talk to each other. Not just to the QA lead, but between themselves as well. Um, so let's keep that culture going, I think, and get everyone connecting with each other to improve their testing skills.
Hmm.
Even when
I-
things don't quite go, the way you want it, things are not quite set up correctly, but we can always learn um, to spend time with each other and do that kind of thing.
hmm. I'm really glad to have you on board today, Phil. And I've actually learned a few things myself too. I learned some things about some of the Linux commands that I had forgotten.
PWD.
Yeah. I won't remember it tomorrow, but I learnt it today. I'll forget it tomorrow,
Yeah,
but you know that's
yeah.
that's a different problem. And it's always nice to pair and collaborate with people across different industries and experiences. And I hope that the audience got something out of today's session too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.